Some people still won't give John Cena his due, and that is mad. Whether you like to hear it or not, he is one of the best pro wrestlers ever because, simply put, you can't stay at the top for as long as he did if you're not doing something right. Nothing else, the man was a merchandise machine. He became such a commodity that Cena soon transitioned into being the guy that WWE could use to make other stars, and that did happen. A young Simon never thought in a million years that CM Punk would walk away with the WWE title at 2011's Money in the Bank, and the fact he did so and beat John Cena was the icing on the cake. And I like that damn icing. While there have been success stories, it has gone the other way too. Guys who were matched against the man who can't be seen, but unfortunately weren't able to get the rub in the same way. Why was this? Well, we're about to find out. I'm Salmon from What Culture. Please do subscribe. This is 10 wrestlers John Cena couldn't get over. Number 10, the Great Khali. When you first see the Great Khali, you can't help but be in awe. The man is genuinely huge and even makes the likes of The Undertaker and Big Show look small in comparison. It's the whole reason he was brought into the WWE, and you can't fault that logic. If you get a casual fan watching and they see this mammoth, they will just wait for a moment longer to see what he's going to do. Kill somebody, perhaps. The more hardcore audience knew the deal though, and yes, Khali wasn't exactly Ricky Steamboat between the ropes. Be it his size or the fact his knees didn't work, the giant struggled to do much of anything, which was actually kinda sad when you see him during his younger days. The man could move. Father Time just kicked his ass. A year after his debut, the plan was still there to cement the guy at the top of the card though, which is why he challenged John Cena for the title at Judgment Day and One Night Stand in 2007. Now yes, Cena did win both of these, once by submission and once by pinfall, and maybe if it hadn't been so cut and dry, the experiment would have worked. The problem was, even during these, the crowd didn't really care about Khali. In fact, the feud in general is considered a dud. It was the catalyst to convince WWE this was not going to work, and soon the monster was doing comedy kissing angles. Wrestling is weird. Number 9, Lord Tensai. I'm not sure anyone could have made this work because it just made no sense. The man that WWE fans knew as A-Train had left the company to become a sensation in Japan as Giant Bernard, and yet when he was welcomed back into the fold, he was some Eastern leader man dude thing. And he drew all over his face, none of it was normal. It's a shame, as in 2012, WWE needed a guy like the real-life Matt Bloom, but it was over before it even began. Fans would chant Albert at him because they knew who he used to be, and even when he went on a winning streak, the crowd just wouldn't accept it. It's too jarring. It's why they didn't buy into a Cena vs Tensai program, and why when John gave him his first loss, it was the beginning of the end. It wasn't Cena's or one CM Punk's fault either, who both lost to him on TV, but again, it was the persona. We couldn't get to the good bit because we couldn't get past the front door. 6 months after his debut, Tensai was losing matches to Santino Marella and soon became Sweet Tea. Why oh why he didn't just come back as the guy we remembered, I will never know, but hey ho, this one was really unfair. What could have been? Number 8, The Big Show. At WrestleMania 20, The Big Show and John Cena fought for the US title and fans lost their minds. It was at the point where the Doctor of Thugonomics could do no wrong and the audience was desperate for Cena to win. So when he picked up Show for the then FU and hit it for the win, forget about it, everybody lost their minds. It was pretty great. 5 years later, things were very different. John Cena was no longer a rapper and had embraced his role at the top, and Big Show had lost some of his allure because he had turned from heel to face and from face to heel at least 4,622 times. That never helps. It meant when they tangled for the WWE title at Mania 25 and in the 2 pay-per-views that followed, it just didn't have the same pop. It was really down to the company because Show had never been booked as a top threat, and therefore fans never actually thought he'd win here. When that happens, it's hard to invest. There has to be the sense of some kind of upset. WWE would keep going back to this over the years, and really it was the same every time. Shame, really. It was less is more with the former Giant, and yet that is not what happened at all from day one. Oh well. Number 7, Roman Reigns. WWE tried everything to get Roman Reigns over, which was actually the mistake to begin with. If they had just let the big dog be the big dog, and probably not have called him the big dog, Roman would have been beloved. When we do see glimpses of his clearly naturally laid-back character, there's money to be made. Just never needed to be the underdog hero, just let him kick ass. All these attempts eventually led to John Cena, as was always going to be the way. The thing is, this should have been saved for a WrestleMania where it truly could have shone, but instead it happened at No Way Out 2017. No, I don't get it either. And let's not pretend it wasn't good. It was. The promos leading up to it were straight out of the pages of reality, and when push came to shove, Reigns beat Cena clean. John then did that passing of the torch moment by raising his hand, but by then the audience had already made up their mind. I mean, not even The Rock could convince people to react differently, so Cena didn't have a chance. It's why WWE was kind of right to do this anyway. It did add to what Roman was meant to be, and if the audience were going to boo him regardless, then so be it. All that really needed to happen was a change of direction for Reigns, and everything likely would have fallen into place. Hindsight is a wonderful tool. Number 6, Baron Corbin. I think Baron Corbin gets a hard time. Pretty much doing everything that's been asked of him ever since he was called up to the main roster. The tide turned when WWE had him on every single segment on Raw for 79 years. That would have been too much for anyone, and we're still dealing with the fallout from that. Overexposure is a real thing. When it came to his feud with John Cena, however, there were other forces at work which also made things problematic. Prior to it, the rumor was Corbin had fallen foul of management by being too vocal about concussion protocol. There seemed to be some proof here, because he was then treated like a goof and lost his Money in the Bank briefcase before challenging Cena at SummerSlam 2007. Look at the date though. Cena had just lost to Roman, Baron had basically thrown away his opportunity, and by the time he had been AA'd into the floor and pinned, it was all very confusing. I'm not even sure the idea here was to help Corbin as opposed to just slap him on the wrist. What a tightrope you have to walk. Number 5, Kevin Federline. This was odd, wasn't it? A guy that nobody really wanted to beat John Cena came in and beat John Cena. I don't know, you tell me. But after deciding the rapper should be injected into Cena's feud with Umaga, on the 1st of January Raw 2007, Kev walked in to face John and actually pinned him after interference from the Samoan Bulldozer. Now I get it, this was done to garner mainstream press, but when Wade Barrett wasn't allowed to beat Cena and some random guy was, well, that just hurts. The real issue was, while Federline had his fans no doubt, they weren't in WWE and weren't going to follow him there. It wasn't like Mike Tyson when the world wanted to see what was going to happen. It was just a musician beating the top guy in WWE. No wonder it didn't work. Number 4, Alberto Del Rio. A victim of poor timing, maybe, Alberto Del Rio's feud with John Cena in 2011 had one huge thing going against it. At the time, the only person fans wanted to see fight John was CM Punk. WWE had gone in a totally different direction. To this day, we don't know why. Well, we do, but you know. 9 years ago, CM Punk was easily the hottest star in wrestling and should have been treated this way, but the powers that be had another idea. If they switched in Del Rio to be involved with the voice of the voiceless and Cena, maybe the audience would start to see the Mexican on their level. Doesn't work that way, and instead we scratched our heads trying to figure out what the hell had happened. Still, these two fought for the title over many pay-per-views, and every step of the way the question was fine, but where is CM Punk? And for reasons that will never be made clear, he was having a big argument with Kevin Nash. It was probably here where the seed was planted for CM Punk to walk out of the company in 2014, and really, it didn't help Alberto Del Rio at all. Number 3, Bray Wyatt. When John Cena and Bray Wyatt clashed at WrestleMania 36, it worked wonders. The Firefly Funhouse match was bizarre in the best possible way, and it made The Fiend feel like a threat. A strange threat, but a threat. This was not the same in 2014. Still, in his debut year on the main roster, fans had decided Wyatt was the freshest thing to happen in ages. He had so much momentum, he was deemed to be the guy to take on Cena at Mania 30, and while we should have known better, the general consensus was if WWE pulled the trigger here with Bray, it could cement him for a while. And we shall never know if that would have been true. Cena handedly did away with him, and even though Wyatt would win during a follow-up at Extreme Rules, he then lost the third encounter, and that was that. Bray was more bark than bite. I guess the silver lining is that it tied into their story in 2020, but then again, if we had done right here, we may never have even needed The Fiend to begin with. Number 2, Kane. Back in 2012, Kane wanted John Cena to embrace the hate. Actually quite an intriguing angle at first, but when it became clear that the big red machine was being used as a make-weight to get Cena ready for someone else, the interest just vanished. We'd been here before. And this wasn't Kane's doing. The Undertaker's fake brother had a tremendous run throughout his career, but by this point the law of diminishing returns had set in. Happens to us all. And think about it too, what hadn't we seen Kane do? We'd even witnessed him electrocute Shane McMahon's testicles. The well of ideas had dried up. The story was still sound though. After years of being booed, Kane told Cena to just accept it and turn to the dark side. John even seemed interested in this at one point, but of course when the feud finished at the Elimination Chamber, he decided to not do that and just carry on hustling and respecting. Well, kind of. This was also the time when John pretty much treated Zack Ryder like dirt after kissing his girlfriend and watching as Kane pushed Long Island IZ off the entrance ramp. Go watch this. There is no point. Number 1, John Laurinaitis. Yep, this happened, 2012, Over the Limit. John Cena laced up his boots ready for a war with the one and only John Laurinaitis, aka the former Johnny Ace. Much like Corbin, Laurinaitis had just been used too much by this point, and every segment he was on became one too many. No one needed to see him as much as they did, and it just hurt. This is why WWE decided they could rectify this by having him feud with John Cena, and that it should lead to an actual match. Unfortunately, the fans didn't want to see this either, and even the crazy decision to have Johnny win after Big Show interference did not help. In fact, most people were just baffled, especially because of the talent roster at the time. So many guys would have loved to have been in this spot, but as we now know, they were not. I guess we should just all move on. Know of any other wrestlers John Cena couldn't get over? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Then head over to whatculture.com and read yourself some articles. Follow What Culture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE, and watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling. My name is Simon from What Culture, and I'll talk to you again soon.